You may find yourself in a situation where you really want to freeze the action. For this first shot, what I'm going to do is just take a picture at a higher ISO at 640. If we can get you to jump for a couple, and we'll see that just with the ambient light here, we can't quite freeze the action. Good. In order to really freeze the action, even at 620 ISO, we're getting at a shutter speed of about an 80th of a second, so we're getting some blur. So I really have to go up to about ISO 6400 to get it 2.8, 3/20th of a second. So let's see what that looks like if we go to a faster shutter speed here and freeze the action. So reviewing those images, we've frozen the motion, but overall the lighting just looks pretty flat and not really that creative. So what I want to do is bring in a speedlight with a softbox so we can shoot in high sync mode and have a faster shutter speed and freeze the flash at the same time. We're going to do a couple different things here. We've got our FourSquare softbox set up. This box you can actually put up to 4 speedlights inside of it. I'm going to start with just one. I'm going to be using this TTL cord, and the reason why I'm going to go with the cord and not with the optical trigger is that I want the reliability of this thing firing each time, and sometimes with the camera trying to see the speedlight inside a box, it won't see it and it won't fire with consistency. I'm going to go ahead and turn the speedlight on. In order to shoot in high sync mode, I either need to set that through my speedlight or directly through the back of my camera. And I'm going to go in with this camera into external speedlight control, and I'm going to go to flash function settings and set this up so I can do high sync mode. The reason that this is important is that typically your camera with flash is only going to trigger to a 2/50th of a second or 200th of a second, and we want to shoot at a higher shutter speed, 500, 600, 800, we'll see what kind of works. And without going into high sync mode with the speedlight, you can't do that. To start off, I'm going to shoot a couple exposures, this manual exposure, 200th of a second with just a speed light in there so you can see what it looks like if we're getting any motion without shooting in high sync mode. Okay, when you're ready. Great, let's try that again. Good, and one more time. Perfect, that was it. So looking at these pictures quick at a 200th of a second, a lot of times where you'll see the motion is in the hands or in the eyes. When I do this type of a shot with a football player and they're jumping through the scene, you really see it in the limbs. So in order to really freeze that action, we're going to go to high sync mode, and we're going to go up to, let's try a 6/40th of a second. We're going to go at 3.5 at 100 ISO. I like working with FourSquare, having an assistant hand hold it, because that way they can kind of follow my subject matter, especially when you have some movement. If you have it on a light stand and your subject matter is kind of moving in and out of frame, it's hard to get them to actually hit the mark where the light's the best. We're going to shoot a couple more pictures here, and you'll see by adding a speedlight into the softbox, we've really changed the quality of the light, and we have a far more dramatic type of image. I really like what's going on here with this type of shot. Let's go ahead and do a couple more. Great. Good. Let's go ahead and back up just a little closer to that background. Great. Let's try it again. Good. I'm going to go to a 1,000th of a second here at f4, 100 ISO, and we're going to do a quick test. I'm in TTL and see what this looks like. So let's go ahead and have you move around there a little bit. Good. And just a little closer to the background. Good. And a spin. Beautiful. That looked great. Okay, so if we look at the back of the camera here, even in TTL mode, we're very dark. So what I want to do is I'm going to overpower this a little bit by increasing the exposure on the speedlight, and I can either do that on the speedlight itself or directly through the camera. All right, let's try that again. And if we look at these exposures, it's still pretty dark, and what's happening is at this fast shutter speed, at 1,000th of a second with one speedlight, we're not getting that much power coming out of the softbox. So the best thing to do is add a secondary speedlight. So we're going to add another 600 speedlight to the softbox. Now with the second speedlight in there, you'll see the difference in the quality of light. Even though we have this kind of medium-sized softbox, with only one strobe head in there or flash head in there, it's going to only illuminate a certain amount of the face of that box. Now with two heads in there, it's going to really fill that up, and we're going to have a much softer light source. And I think for our subject matter here, it's going to be more flattering and make for a better image. And then the second thing is we're going to have a faster recycle time. A couple things to remember. We are using this TTL cord, so our speedlight that's attached to this is our master, and then by adding a second head in there, we have to use our optical system in order to trigger that as a remote. So you need to make sure you have your second speedlight set up so it will trigger when the first one fires as your master. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Great. Okay, back up just a touch. Good, when you're ready. I'm going to dial down the power here just a little bit. If you remember, we went up a stop and a third at that faster shutter speed, and now that I have two speed lights in there, I don't need quite as much compensation. I'm going to dial it back down to just a +1, and we'll take a look at that. Great, here we go. Beautiful, good. And one more time. I'm going to just adjust this one last time down. Just scoot that way just a touch. There you go. Yeah, just like that. Let's try that again. That's beautiful, Zach. Walk that way just a little bit, and then turn the box to me just a little. Okay, let's try that again. Great, and then Zach, step this way just a touch for one more. Great, waiting on flash, and here we go. Beautiful, we got it.